Right, hello everyone, and welcome to the CV writing workshop by the National Tutoring Programme. If you guys could just give me a thumbs up in the chat or a hello, just let them know you can see and hear me okay. All right, perfect. So kicking off today's webinar is going to be Dana from NTP. Yes, without further ado, I'll hand you over to Dana, and yeah, best of luck, guys. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome to our webinar on how to create an excellent CV to support your application for the Academic Mentor Programme. My name's Dana. I'm a recruitment officer for the National Tutoring Programme. I work with potential academic mentors to be placed into schools to bridge the attainment gap caused by the pandemic. So this is my second year with the National Tutoring Programme. Overall, I've worked in recruitment for over 4 years in the care and education sector. So looking through CVs is a daily aspect of my role. So I really want to share my knowledge with you and to teach you how to create a fantastic CV. And pass to you, Sarah.
Hello everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'm a recruitment officer on the National Tutoring Programme. I'm responsible for engaging candidates, interviewing them, helping them get into schools, and reduce the gaps of learners that were affected by the pandemic. I spend an average of most of my day looking at between 30 to 50 CVs a week. So I know what a good CV looks like. So Dana and I would just like to share with you all today how to tailor your CV to the job that you want, to the role that you want, and just to make it look like a stellar CV and just put you at the correct position for the job that you need.
Fantastic. Brilliant. So before we begin, looking at what a good CV should look like, we just want to give you a wee overview of what we do here at the NTP. So the National Tutoring Programme, it supports pupils across England by providing one-to-one and small group subject-specific tuition for those whose education has been most impacted by the pandemic. So academic mentors work closely with a school's senior leadership team to focus on areas that are most in need of support and helping pupils achieve their learning outcomes. So we have academic mentor roles covering the core subjects, which are primary English, maths, and science, and secondary maths, English, science, modern foreign languages, and humanities. So today we're here to discuss with you how to create an excellent CV to help with your application to become an academic mentor with the National Tutoring Programme. In your CV, we would like to see why you want to apply. We want to see how you would sell yourself, why you want to work with children, and why you want to make a difference.
Wonderful. So I'm going to just go over what a CV is. So a CV, if you don't know, or if you already know already, is a written overview of your skills, your experience, your education. You are basically summarizing your unique skills, your character, your achievements, which should relate to the kind of job that you want. So in the current competitive job market, making a good impression is very, very crucial. So, on the National Tuition Program, your CV is the first point of contact with us and with any potential employer. So, it is essential that you get it right the first time around. So, in today's webinar, Dana and myself are going to talk to you through the simple rules to follow to ensure that your CV stands out for all the right reasons. So to start with, I'm just going to discuss with you the basic layout of your CV. So your CV should be simple. It should be uncluttered because most employees only spend a few minutes, in some cases 30 seconds, scanning your CV, looking for those like buzzwords to fit their job spec. So it's important that they can clearly see what they're looking for. So firstly, your CV should be no longer than 2 pages long. Secondly, it should be subdivided into sections. Between Dana and myself, we worked out that it should be just no more than six subsections. So that should be the header, your personal profile, skills and summary, your work experience, education, and any additional information that you want to add in there.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. So, yep, the first part of your CV is your CV header. So, this should include your full name and possibly your email and phone number. A lot of organizations have application forms that you fill in that you put in your contact details, so your phone number, email address. So it's not necessarily essential to have your phone number and email address into your CV, so it's sort of optional depending on the role. With the National Tutoring Programme, to be an academic mentor, you fill in an application form. So there's no need to pop on your phone number and email address onto your CV header. But it's very important to make your CV header clear and concise. Just put your first name, surname, and your CV. So the next part of your CV should be your personal profile. So this gives you a chance to really sell yourself and to get noticed and make your CV stand out from the crowd. The school will have a lot of applicants to look through. So the first part of your personal profile, this is your chance to really let them know why you'd be the right fit for the role. So you should include information about your personality traits. For example, you're enthusiastic, patient, trustworthy, or diligent. These are essential personality traits to the role of an academic mentor. You should also include in this part any long-term goals in education that you have. So say, for example, you want to be an academic mentor to gain experience in working with children, to progress in your teaching career. You should also list other reasons as why you want to be an academic mentor. I love working with children. I want to make a difference. I want to help bridge the learning gap caused by the pandemic, make it relevant to the academic mentor. So you should also make sure that you keep all information provided in this section relevant to the role you're applying for. If you're applying to be an academic mentor, you can use non-school based experiences. For example, if you've volunteered, say at your local library, you've shown commitment. So schools are looking for a member of staff for the full academic year. So they want someone who who shows commitment. So it's good to put that in your personal profile just to sort of get them hooked straight away to read onto your CV. So other skills may be patience and communication skills. Again, these are essential skills of an academic mentor, and it will make the school want to carry on reading your CV and progress with you further.
Thanks, Dana. So what I'm going to discuss with you guys now is the skills summary page and your work experience, key accomplishments. That should be like one of the sub headings within your CV. So again, you want to keep this relevant to the role that you're applying for. You want to look at the job description and pick out any skills for the role that are relevant, that you have done that are relevant to the role to become an academic mentor. So don't just copy and paste from the job board, because the employer are the ones who have written the job description. They know what they wrote, and they most likely know if you've copied and pasted. So make sure you list your skills, such as providing guidance, you've managed behavior, you've worked in small groups. If you are fresh out of uni, fresh out of your studies, you can use things from your university studying, like you've worked in small groups, you can be related to class projects, you work as part of a team, you can use anything like that and add it onto your CV. So you want to keep this section, again, short, sweet, and give examples where possible. And again, make this section relevant to the job that you are applying for. The next section that you want to have in is your work experience. So working backwards chronologically with your current job at the top, you want to provide a brief overview of the dates you worked, with the employer's name, the job title, with a maximum couple of sentences, what your key responsibilities are. If you don't, not very wordy, you can just use a couple of bullet points, what you do on your day-to-day day. So if the job is not relevant to the academic mentor role, just put the employer's name, role, date, and then just leave a brief description or just one or two bullet points. Please note that it is very important to ensure that any gaps in your work history are explained. For example, studying, traveling, maternity leave. We just need to ensure that we adhere to compliance requirements and it is safer when we recruit. So if you don't add these in, we will be asking you at the interview stage why there are any gaps. So just be honest with us, let us know from the start. So if you have also traveled or you have come from abroad, any time that you spent overseas for 6 months or longer would require an overseas police check. Some countries charge for this. Some countries require more than 6 months notice. It can take a while to come back. So the sooner you let us know, the sooner we can help you get an overseas police check. If you can't do an overseas police check, just be honest, open with us. We will look at alternative methods to help you apply for the role. Also, overseas qualifications are also accepted. So if you do not have any work experience, that's also fine. This should be something that doesn't discourage you, but rather encourages you, motivates you, as you can list your coursework, your dissertation, group projects that you have done that will be in relation to applying for the academic mentor role.
Right. Thanks, Sarah. Yep, so the next section on your CV will be listing your education. So it's important to list your educational achievements, listing from highest qualification to the lowest. It's good to avoid listing too much about your education, so listing extensive qualifications if not relevant to the role. So it may be that you're in your university degree, you studied different modules, only include relevant modules from your degree into this section. So don't list every single module, as this will take up too much room as well. It's also important that you don't necessarily need to put where your university was, exactly what date you went to university, and that again just takes up a bit too much room. So just ensure to pop in your qualifications in highest to lowest order. We do have EXTIS and NARC to help with education checking for qualifications, but it does need to be in English. So if you have a degree from overseas, our recruitment coordinators may ask for a statement of mentor. It's also important to make sure to, in this with your education, to include any work experience or voluntary work if relevant. So say, for example, you helped in uni with other student studies, you can list that in your education as well. There's also a second, you can also add your additional information section as well. This is not compulsory, but this is a good way to sort of give a brief overview of any relevant hobbies and interests if you feel they would support with your application. So say, for example, I go down to my local library and read books to children in my spare time. You could, that shows your like working with children, you're committed to volunteering, so that lists good skills relevant to the academic mentor role. And again, you can highlight in this section the reasons why you want to be an academic mentor and sell yourself in this section. But again, make sure the information is relevant and don't put information such as I like watching reality TV. It's not relevant to the role. So ensure all the information you're putting in there, your hobbies and interests, volunteering, is relevant to the role you are applying for, or shows an interest in a specific topic or task related to that role.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Dana. So next, I will be discussing with you the do's and don'ts that you should have and should not have within your CV. So there are some do's and don'ts. So we'll just go over it for when you are writing your CV. So taking all that what we've covered so far, let's have a look at what is acceptable and what is not. So here on the National Tutoring Programme, we read through every CV and we give the applicants the opportunity to expand on them at their interview. However, not in all employers do this. As previously mentioned, many employers take minutes, if not seconds, to review a CV. Some even use a software to pick out keywords, buzzwords. So there are definitely some do's and don'ts that will increase your chances of being successful. So things to do. You want to keep your CV concise, no more than 2 pages in length, because once I had a CV where it was 12 pages long. The candidate listed every book they wrote, every conference they attended, and they just had like a reference list at the end of the CV. So please keep your CV concise, to the point, and no more than 2 pages in length. Some employers, if they see that it's more than 2 pages, you just go to the bottom of the pile. That's just how it is. So just make sure it's no more than 2 pages long. So save some information for the interviewer. Let us, keep us wanting more. Give us a little, oh, I like this person. Oh, I want to find out more. Just leave us wanting a little bit more. So on your CV, you do want to highlight your most recent and relevant experience. As I mentioned before, you want to list that in chronological order. Do make sure that you don't use any more than 2 fonts, and ensure that your font is clearly set out, and use the same font and layout through the CV when you do it. Do include your personal accomplishments, like if you finished uni, if you've got certificates, if you've done like extra training, do make sure you include your personal accomplishments that are relevant to the role. For example, you help mentor a student from your uni group who was struggling in maths. Make sure you list those, get those key things in that would help you put you atop where you need to be. Always double check your spelling and grammar. What I do when I'm writing my CV or looking at other people, I use the SPAG method. So S is for spelling, P is for punctuation, and G is for grammar. So the A is for and G is for grammar. If you're not good with spelling or you're not really sure, always have an extra set of eyes. You can send your CV to us. We'll have a look. If not, you can ask your professor, a teacher, your parents, someone that you trust who's good at English to go over your CV and have a look. Do consider adding like things like if you volunteer, add those to your CV, or other like non-work experience, add those onto your CV. If like you don't have many previous work experience, add those on. It's going to fill out your CV. Always be yourself, sell yourself, be authentic. No one knows you better than you, and we want to know why we should give you the job. So the next slide shows an example of what a good CV looks like. You can see it has my name at the top. It has my contact information to the right. It has my professional summary. It has my skills. It has my job history in chronological order, and then my education and my relevant skills towards the end. Your CV doesn't have to be exactly this layout. This is just an example of like when I've seen like good CVs, I'm like, oh, it looks really nice. You can see the headers, you can see the list there. So make sure the correct headings are there and take this into consideration. So what we're going to look at next is things not to do, things you do not want to put in your CV. Okay, so on the next slide, things what not to do. So don't add any unnecessary personal information. For example, your date of birth, your cultural background, if you're married, how many times you've been divorced. Believe me, I have seen it all. It's been added onto a CV. Do not give the employer any reason to be biased against you. Do not include your photo with your CV. We just want to hear about your skills, your experience, and work history. And if you like what we read, then we'll ask you for an interview. It's not a problem at all. Do not use any language that is too informal, no jargon, no jokes. For example, I would not use I'd like. I would say I would like this job. I wouldn't say I would like to start ASAP. I would say I'd like to start as soon as possible. Don't try to shorten any words because it just might go over the employer's head. Again, don't worry if you have no experience. You can list your transferable skills, such as relatable projects, using Microsoft Word, relevant coursework that you've done at university, college, and or sixth form. Don't make your CV too fancy. Don't overuse like lines, text boxes. For example, I had a CV that a candidate sent to me. I had to download and go over it. By the time I opened it, the text boxes were like all out of place. It was everywhere. It took me, honestly, hands up, 45 minutes to fix it so I can view it. This is not something an employer would do. They would not waste their time on this. They would just move on because they can get like 100 CVs a day, and there's going to be a better CV out there than them trying to fix your CV. So make sure you don't overly use too many text boxes. Don't rely on buzzwords, cliches, jargons, or go overboard. For example, I had an aha moment. Not everybody would understand it. It may go over in the employer's head when reading your CV. Don't use cliche moments like it was an uphill battle, better safe than sorry. Just be straight to the point. Don't include anything too confidential. And for example, we don't need to know your entire medical history, your sexual orientation, your national insurance number, or your religious beliefs. Again, don't give the employer any reason to be biased against you. I wouldn't include your references. I did add this into the chat. You can add at the bottom. References can be available upon request. Also, you cannot have family members as references. It has to be an employer or somebody that has known you for a period of time. Do not include random, unrelated, off-putting hobbies. For example, I had a candidate who loved drama and then they worked as part-time elf. I had no idea what was the relevance to the role. that is all they put in under their hobbies. Just make sure it is relevant to the role. So don't try to hide any gaps. Be open and honest when the time comes. Don't use any negative words like I had aggressive sale targets. The role was very bossy. Those are all negative words. On the next slide, what I'm going to show you is what a bad CV looks like. So here is my example of a bad CV. You can see it has way too much personal information. My Instagram handles is on there, my Facebook page, it has my photo. So it's just too much. And from past experience, I'm going to be honest with you guys, if you put your Facebook handle on there, your Instagram handle, your Snapchat handle, we will go online and we will have a look. And if we can see that you're like out partying most of the times, you're typing inappropriate messages on social media, we're just going to avoid your application. So don't put your personal life with your professional life. Don't mix it. So looking at the professional profile, you can just see I've copied and pasted a list of skills, nothing more to it. You can see my hobbies. I went on and on about how I fixed a car, how I enjoy fixing it, which is fine. But then I went on about how it breaks down, why I fixed it, how my dad taught me how to fix cars. It is all irrelevant. Keep it concise to the point. I enjoy fixing cars in my spare time. That's it. If you're applying to be an English academic mentor, you can see that there are a few spelling mistakes. For example, the way I have spelled hobbies. Funnily enough, I've seen quite a few CVs where they have spelt the word hobbies like this. It's not your hobby that you're looking for, it's hobbies. So make sure it's correct spelling. Another example where the spelling mistake, it's like words that sound the same, spell the same, but they have completely different meaning. I was reading a CV and it said I would really like a carer in this role. And I believe what the candidate meant to say was I would really like a career in this role. And they just missed it by simple spelling mistakes. Schools all the time send CVs back saying the English is not good. How can they apply to be an English mentor if they can't even get their CV English right? So just make sure you're checking your spelling, your language, your grammar at the end. Dana, back over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. So that is the end of our CV writing webinar. We do hope that you found it useful and have taken away some key tips and points. The chat has been really active with lots of questions, so that's great. If you have any other questions, we'll open the floor for about 5-10 minutes for any other questions that we can answer. But yeah, we'd really like to thank you for taking the time out to join us, and we do hope that we get the chance to interview you if you've applied for the position of an academic mentor. If you are registered as an academic mentor and you would like to send us an updated CV from the tips from this webinar, then please feel free to send them to us. We're still currently recruiting for academic mentors roles across England for primary and secondary schools, so please feel free to apply and book your interview online with one of our recruitment officers. We now have our new website, which is lists specific jobs, so you can create alerts for certain areas and you can quick apply. We also have ongoing events that are linked on our website that you can register for, as well as further information on CV writing tips and other important topics related to the National Tutoring Programme. So we'll make sure that all these links are shared with you as well. And obviously the slides and the presentation will be shared with you also. So yeah, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat there and we'll get them answered for you.
I did see somebody said, how do you add in gaps if you have a child? It's not about adding in, like, I've had a child during this period. So when you're adding in your employment in chronological order, so say you worked 2016 to 17, and then you didn't start work again until 2020, you don't have to make it line up, just allow the gap to be there. So when you start your next employment in 2021, just add 2021 to 2022. The employer will then ask you, and then just be open and honest. Don't try to hide the gap by putting the years closer together, if that makes sense.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. Yep, I've just spotted another one. What is the recruitment process to become an academic mentor? So we have our online application where you apply, and then you'll be contacted by our recruitment coordinators who will contact you regarding the screening process, which is where we upload the compliance documentation. And then once you've completed that, you'll then be invited to an online interview with one of our recruitment officers. It should last about 30 minutes or so. It'll be a mix of competency-based questions and a discussion of your previous experience and your motivations for wanting to be an academic mentor. And then if successful, and if successful in that interview, you'll then be moved to what we call our talent pool, which means we'll be looking at finding you a suitable school based on your subject preference and location. So we have our recruitment officers and our school relationships officers who will be in contact with you on a regular basis to discuss potential schools and try find you a suitable placement.
Thank you. So I have a question here that says, how do you include your self-employed business on your CV? So if you have a self-employed business, your business would have a name. Say if you work in, I don't know, your business is photocopying, you would put the name of your company, Mammoth Photocopying Business, and you would put the years that you work there. So it would be from 2023 to present, and you'd add that on your CV, and then you would list in bullet points or a description of what you do with your business. You don't have to specify that. Also, there's a lot of questions about maternity and baby gaps in children. You don't have to specify what the reasonable deployer would ask you. So just make sure that when you are adding in your jobs, you add in the year that you actually worked at the company. And then if another job happened like 2 or 3 years later, you would start that from year. It doesn't have to close the gap when you add it onto your CV. So if the gap is most recent, 2023, due to studying at uni, do I give it a section or a good idea to mention it in the cover letter? You just leave the section as it is, and the employer would ask you. So when the employer asks you, that is when you would say at the time.
Brilliant. Just another one there. Can I resubmit an updated CV? Yep. If you would like to, if you've already registered as academic mentor, you can send an updated CV to your recruitment officer. And if you've not, obviously you can reapply again with your updated CV.
Correct. We have put the email in the chat. For those of you that want to email, just add mine or Dana's name, and we will let you know if you want us to look over your CV or anything like that. We would review your CV as well. Just send it to us, inquiries at National Tutoring Programme, Academic Mentors. So I will put the link back in the chat again for you guys. And we'll just take 1 or 2 more questions, Dana.
Brilliant. Just that when there are academic mentors positions only full-time. So it depends on the school availability. So we can take part-time mentors, but it's sort of dependent on the schools if they're able to accommodate part-time working hours. So that would be sort of a discussion that we'd have sort of during the interview process and looking at suitable schools if they're able to take on part-time. And with starting immediately, that sort of depends on the school as well if they're able to accommodate someone starting straight away.
Wonderful. I have a question here that says, in writing a CV, do we need to include nationality? Please do not include your nationality or any other personal information. We do not want to give the employer any reason to be biased against you. Leave all personal information out. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's all the questions we can take at the moment. If you have any other questions, feel free to email over to our inquiries inbox and we'll be able to support you with that. But yeah, thank you very much for your time this afternoon and hopefully we'll be in touch with you quite soon.
Again, yeah, brilliant. Thank you guys for that. Really valuable insights and good information there. Just so you're all aware, we run webinars regularly on all different subjects. The next one coming up will be on March 30th, presented by the firm PwC and what they look for in successful candidates. So yeah, thank you guys again and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.